Hello there, and welcome to another episode of the Just Talking About Films podcast, where we just talk about films. And we've got a fantastic guest with us today. We've got Chris Wadeson, who is joining us to just talk about films, and we'll get to asking him some questions in a minute. My name is Ian Sarginson.
And my name's Luke Taylor, and it's good to be with you. We were just having a discussion before we started this. Are we just talk about films? Does that mean that we're just talking about films, or is it we just talk about films and nothing else? Because before this, we were talking about TV programs.
Yeah, and we tend to do that most weeks for about 20 minutes before we start recording.
We do.
We just talk about TV programs. I mean, we could have another pod and just talk about TV, or sometimes talk about TV. Anyway, so
Yes.
we were just talking about TV shows, mainly Better Call Saul. But yeah, so well, welcome, Chris. Welcome to the show. We've been in negotiations for a while to get you on. And just a little bit of background, I've known Chris for a few years. We've been friends for a while, and Chris was in the youth group that I used to run when I worked in Lancaster initially. And one of the things that we really bonded over was talking about films. Chris was one of the young people, and he watched a lot of films, and I watched a lot of films. So we had a great common theme to talk about, and we did talk about it a lot. And then when another guy came over from Brazil, he joined that conversation. We used to talk about them a lot together and go to the cinema and stuff. So it's great to finally get you on, Chris. Just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm still in Lancaster. I've been working at the charity Cancer Care for the last 2 years as a youth worker myself. I've just left that job, sadly, because I'm starting a course in mental health nursing in September.
Wow.
So, I think probably my favourite pastime is probably watching films, and actually watching them at the cinema as well. I think, watching films at the cinema is probably my
and I think for me, it's when I was in Lancaster, or working in Lancaster, your family was a great source of encouragement to me. And I think, is it something that your family did? Because I know your sister Becca watches a lot of films, or she did. But was it something that you always did growing up as a family, or was it just something that you got into yourself?
I think Dad probably not pushed me, but like he introduced me to loads of films from when he grew up. And we watched loads of films together. I think we probably do watch films as a family, though. There's probably, like, Mum's probably less up for watching every type of film. I think me and Dad are both quite open-minded. It's something we bond over, especially me and Beck. Beck, my sister.
Yeah.
We definitely bond over that now. She has this. She has the what's it called? The pass where you can go unlimited times a month.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she has that in Cineworld in Glasgow, and she goes to the 4K showings quite a lot. And I got to go and watch The Matrix in 4K, which was an amazing experience. But yeah. Yeah, so I guess it is. I guess we do bond over it as a family, yeah.
Yeah, because it was something that I remember we chatted about a lot about, and then Beck did, and I remember you would watch things together as a family or have people around your house, and it was always really good. Luke's got a Cineworld pass, haven't you?
Oh, yes, that thing gets a lot of use.
But I've heard this week there was some rumours on the news or something that they would talk of them going bust. Is that right?
The filing for was a Chapter 11 bankruptcy. It doesn't mean they're going out of business. It just means they have to get like this package where you get out. But they're not planning on closing anything down. Doesn't mean to say they won't, but the plan is that they're staying open.
That's because they'll let everyone go to the cinema for free. It's
not
not a great business model. I mean, it is for you. Right, well, great, Chris. It's great to have you here. We've been chatting a lot. You've been getting in touch a fair bit about stuff that we've been talking about in previous episodes. So I'm delighted that you're here, and we will be talking later on about certain aspect of films. But first, we start off by talking about the films that we've been watching recently. So if you'd like to go first, that would be great.
Yeah, so the last two films I've watched, so I've been on holiday for the last 2 weeks. I've been on holiday for 2 weeks. I've just been back a week, so I might be slight behind. I noticed, and I haven't listened, but I noticed that you spoke about Nope last week, but I haven't listened to it, so I don't know what was said about it or what the verdict was. I watched it a week ago and loved it. I really, really liked it. I think right. Okay, so I absolutely loved it. I'm the only person I know who didn't fall asleep in it, though, and I don't know what that means. Did you fall asleep in it? Did you both see it?
I haven't seen it.
I saw it. No, I didn't fall asleep. I have to say, it did start slow. It does take a little while to get going. And you've just got to be, I think, a little patient with it at the start. But no, I didn't fall asleep. I was thoroughly gripped by it.
Yeah, I think it's quite a bold film in a way, because following Get Out and Us, which are they're not very slow, they're quite fast paced. For him to come out with quite a slow burn, I think it's quite a bold move. Especially, it's bold in that respect. It's also quite bold that he doesn't answer any of the questions he kind of poses. Really, he kind of puts a lot of questions out there, and a lot's left for the audience to try and figure out, which is another bold move, because you could come out and leave it. And I don't know how well it's being received at the box office.
I think it's done okay. It's done okay. I think it's a clever film. It's certainly, I enjoyed it reminded me a lot of Jaws.
It's funny you said that. I was thinking, I was going to see if you thought that, because I was like, I came away thinking, oh, it's like something, but I'm not sure what it's like. And it is like Jaws. I was thinking, like, why does it remind me of Jaws? But it does. You know, the bunting that's kind of going up into the sky. That kind of reminded me of the barrel that they kind of used to kind of know where he was. And there's lots of things in it where they kind of. Are we spoiling it? I don't know.
No, absolutely not.
We're not spoiling it, but I don't want to say anything about it. Does your audience know what it's about at all?
No, we have. Luke shared briefly, but no, not too many plots.
I did say it was about an alien. Yeah.
You did say it was about an alien.
Yeah.
There's mechanisms in it that are similar to Jaws, in that, like, it's the kind of visual ways of showing where the alien is that kind of reminded me of Jaws as well. Just kind of like clever kind of tricks from the side of the main characters. And
a lot of, is it there? Is it there? It's not there. It's there.
Yeah. And I think one of the so I might talk about it with Prey, but like I love how it's shot from the perspective of the people, like, completely. There's not really, apart from a few shots that are quite ambiguous to, like, what am I looking at here? Everything's shot from the perspective of the people, and like, oh, did I just see what I just saw? And it's quite a lot of kind of, oh, that wasn't actually very clear. There's no kind of very clear shots of what you're kind of seeing, which I think adds to the suspense and the realism of it, which is actually kind of something I wish Prey did slightly more, as much as I like Prey. I'll talk about Prey in a sec. But I loved it. I think it was a film about exploitation and exploitation in media, but also coupled with how the audience kind of consumes media as well. That's kind of what I got from it.
I think that's what it was. Yeah, this idea of spectacle, but also I got this sense of, we can't tame nature, and I think that the other example of the thing that happened in the past is a little bit about that as well. That we try and exploit nature, but we can't control it.
It is a film I'm looking forward to seeing, because I think, as Chris was talking about the box office, I think Jordan Peele's he's earned the right to be heard, if you know what I mean, in terms of his previous two films have been excellent, really thought-provoking, really creative, really different. So I think there would be a lot of interest in this. I just haven't got around to go and see it yet, but if I did go to cinema tomorrow, it'd probably be the film I want to see.
I do think it's his least successful film, but when you consider his other two films as Get Out and Us, that's not a slight.
Yeah, I mean, I loved Get Out. I think I watched that when I was still in Lancaster, Chris, and I think we talked about it. I might have even watched it together. I can't remember, but I remember thinking it was amazing.
I don't want to, because it's only been a week. I'm worried about saying it's my favourite of his.
Right.
But I'm teetering with the idea that it might be my favourite of his. I think there's something I really admired about how he never really explained the questions he put out. I think there's something in Get Out where, as much as it doesn't really explain a lot, you could probably figure it out. But I think with Nope, a lot of people could come away with lots of different things. I think I quite admire that. I quite admire that it couldn't just be one thing. I think as much as I loved Us, I felt like the reveal at the end was slightly on the nose. We're not talking about that. But it kind of does, it spoon feeds you an answer at the end of Us.
Yeah,
and I thought, Nope doesn't do any spoon feeding at all. So I think I really admire that. I wonder, that might, for me, put it slightly above Get Out and Us.
Yeah, good. And you enjoyed it, didn't you, Luke?
Oh yeah, that was very good. Yeah. It took me a little while to get into it. It did. The start, I was a bit like, this is taken, but once it hit, it hit.
Yeah. Do we take it in terms of what we've seen? I say all the things I have watched.
Well, if you've only got two, you might as well go for the next one now, and that's something we discussed last week, so we can jump in. So we talked about Prey last week. We talked about it favourably. What did you think, Chris?
I really liked it. I really, really liked it. I think it's what the franchise kind of needed, a bit of stripping it back. It really did strip it back. I can't remember when I watched number 2, the one set in the city with Danny Glover. Was it any good? I can't remember.
I tried to watch it this week, and I got 10 minutes in and thought, this is just too bad.
Oh, really?
As a kid, I loved it. As an adult, I was like, nah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because, and then I think after that was Predators.
Yeah.
With, the actor from The Pianist. What's he? Adrian
Brody.
Yeah. Which was basically exactly the same film as Predator 1 with Arnold Schwarzenegger, but with more of them Predators. And then The Predator was Dire. I think that came out in 2018, and it was just basically a bigger Predator. But now it's like very stripped back. There's not any technology. There's use of guns, but it's very, very small use of guns. I think one of the things I really liked about it is that it kind of got you scared of acting like natural predators before it got you scared of the predator, the alien predator. It's sort of, that like this bear is really scary, or like this lion is really scary, and then it kind of shows you the predator killing that, and it really heightens the threat level. You really feel like the weight of the threat. It did a really good job of that. I loved the aesthetic, the feel, the traps, the tracking. I love all that. I think if I was to nitpick it, I'd probably just say that it probably could have done with less talking in it. Have you seen? It kind of reminded me of Apocalypto. Have you seen Apocalypto, by the way?
Yeah.
And I wondered whether it would have benefited from a bit of like original language use rather than,
Apparently, they shot it both ways.
Oh, really?
And they were a bit unsure which way to go with it, but then they decided to go that way. Yeah.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that. I wonder why what do you guys think?
I didn't mind it so much. Once you accept that essentially they are talking in their native language, but we're hearing in ours, I got past it pretty quick. And once you hear was it the French or coming in, you can't understand what they're saying, and the interpreter's bit, I kind of was okay with it once we got past that. Okay. Well, it's jarring at the start and then just settles.
Yeah, I had a few issues with it, but the language wasn't really one of them.
And I also wondered whether, like in kind of a similar tone as a similar kind of along the same lines as the language thing, I wonder whether it kind of spoke a bit too much. Like, I wonder whether like things were kind of said that didn't really need to be said. I think there was a bit of a monologue from the main character that I felt like didn't need to be said. I think we could have worked that out as the audience about. I don't want to spoil it, but there's a bit of a monologue where she's kind of explaining why she's like as good as she is, and why she can be the one that can defeat the predator. And I felt like if they didn't really say that, we would have got it anyway.
Yeah, that's fair. What I don't understand is she had an axe, and at no point did anybody say, "Get to the chopper." Disappointing.
But there was a lot of nods to the original in there.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, there was.
There was one covered in mud laid against the big tree. Yeah, so there was stuff there. I think the thing I liked it. Luke and I both said last week that it would have been better at the cinema because it was aesthetically very good with the great landscape shots and wide angle shots and stuff like that, and it just felt really good. The bit that I didn't like really was, and I know there's been a lot of complaints online about, oh, it's so woke and stuff, but I didn't think it was. The bits that I didn't like was she had this axe, she's thrown it at a tree, missing quite a bit, and then half an hour later she can't miss. She's wrapping it around all sorts, and it was like, hang on, you pulled yourself out of some swamp and then you've been battered for a good half an hour, and now suddenly you can do anything you want with this axe when she's fighting the French people, right?
When it clicks in, when you get the hang of something, you get the hang of it.
I was just glad the dog was okay.
Oh no, all the way through. I think as Hollywood stopped killing dogs,
Yeah,
from the very start, like, oh, they better not kill this dog.
Yeah,
I hate hearing their whimper.
I thought the bear was going to get it, but I enjoyed it. I say, I think it was what the franchise needed. I think I enjoyed it because it was a good film, but I enjoyed it more because it was better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, they should just do more like historical Predator films. That would be great.
Yeah. I think my only other criticism is kind of similar to what I praised Nope for, is maybe they could have done a bit of like less shots of just the alien kind of sorting himself out, and just kind of do it completely from the perspective of the main character or the humans, and less kind of shots of the spaceship flying. There wasn't many, but it adds to the. It might have added to the tension if we hadn't seen any of. I think it probably still would have worked if we hadn't seen any of them by itself. But,
yeah, I think that's fair, because the first one keeps the Predator very well hidden until, but you've never seen one before, and then this one, I guess it kind of goes, well, you know what it looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think apart from her brother, everybody else in her tribe was awful.
Yeah.
I guess that they were horrible to her because she was a girl, but they were there was no reason. They were like, she kept giving them evidence that this thing's out there, kill it, and they're like, no, don't be silly, it's a lion. And she's like, it's skinning things. This snake that has been skinned, and oh, look at it. Oh, no, don't be silly. Anyway, so yeah, I enjoyed it.
Themselves, isn't it?
Yeah.
They're just bitter.
Yeah. So I enjoyed it for what it was. So, yep, thanks for that, Chris. Luke, what have you been getting on with?
This week, well, first thing I watched was Predator because I'd seen Prey and I thought, you know what, I haven't seen Predator in years. Such a long time. And yeah, wow, the 80s were a strange time, weren't they? It was the scenes where they break into that camp and start shooting people. I don't know if it's because the hot shots might have ruined that kind of thing now, but it's ridiculous the amount of bullets that they shoot in that camp. After a while, you just start thinking, is this going to be the rest of the film? It's just them shooting and shooting and shooting. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. It is what it is. Predator. I think it's the only other good Predator movie. It's
strange. It's strange because Predator is one of them films I haven't seen for a long while. In my head, it's still amazing, and part of me doesn't want to ruin that. But the bits I can remember and quote amount to about 7.5 minutes.
Yeah.
So I can't remember what happens in the other hour and a half. Do you know what I mean? It's like I remember the main bits, like covering yourself in mud and Arnie and some of the quotes about being ugly and stuff. But beyond that, it's like I can't remember what else happens.
It's good fun,
isn't it? Yeah,
it does. I think it. Sorry.
No, so go on.
I think it holds up well. I think it was lots of fun. It's got that sense of we got our guns, but our guns are useless. So what's Arnie going to do? He's going to build a trap. And it was good fun. I enjoyed it. Then I went to see Beast, which is essentially Idris Elba versus a lion.
Oh, yeah. That looks like, going back to what we were saying about the trailer says to me, we're doing Jaws, but with a lion.
I would say that's fair. Yeah. Jaws with a lion.
Yeah, it's a super lion. It's super intelligent. and it's going to be a threat, and you don't know where it's going to come from. It's going to jump out here and there.
It's a lion that's essentially gone, man keeps killing lions. Let's turn the tables. He doesn't say that, but that's what you're thinking.
Yeah. I was like, did you see in my face that I thought it said that?
No, it didn't. You just get that sense. It's a lion that's had enough.
But does it pick them off one by one like Jaws does?
A little bit. I mean, what it does is it gives you, you've got this dad taking his family out on holiday, doing a safari with an old friend. They come across a village where everybody's been killed by this lion, and they suddenly realize they're in danger, and they're trying to get out of there. There's some poachers that are out there as well, which have caused this problem. And so you know the second you see the poachers, they're the ones who are really going to get it. And it plays the threat consistently well. You always feel like they're in danger. You know which character is going to die pretty clearly. But it's got a good end. And hey, towards the end, Idris Elba punches a lion in the face. I mean, what more do you want? But it stretches a little bit towards the end. There's a bit where it's him versus the lion, and he has a plan how it's all going to work. But the way that lion goes at him, there's a hospital scene. I mean, I don't want to spoil it, but the injuries he got compared to the injuries it looks like he got don't tally to me. I mean, he dies. He must die. There's no way. But
he just picks his head up and walks into the hospital.
Yeah, it's good fun. It's good fun. Had a good time. It's worth a watch. It doesn't need to necessarily be a big screen, I don't think, though.
Okay.
Then I did Once Upon a Time in America. Film I just never seen.
Good film.
Never seen it.
Because we were talking about gangster films last week.
It was, yeah. It was. And, I like, I mean, with gangster films, there's always a little bit like glamorous about it, even if it doesn't intend it.
Yeah.
Man, there wasn't in this one. No. This one, they are just awful people from start to finish.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're supposed to be on Robert De Niro's side because he's your eyes through the start of it, but boy, you're not by the end. It's quite harrowing. I mean, there's some controversial, like really intense scenes in it, and I came at the end. I thought it was very good. I have no intention of ever watching it again.
Yeah.
What did you watch that on?
It's on Disney.
It's on Disney.
Yeah, it's on Disney. It was harrowing at times, but I have to admit the bit where it flashes back to them being kids. Yeah, I enjoyed that bit more, but you see all the seeds of the horrible people they're going to become in that, and it's a clever film. Apparently, it was a lot shorter on its first release and didn't do very well, and then this longer version is truer to what the film should be. But you've got to. I mean, it's nearly 4 hours long, so it's you got to schedule a lot of time to watch it, and by the end, you do feel like you've been through it.
Yeah.
Did you watch it in one?
Sorry?
Did you watch it in one sitting?
Oh, no, we did it in two. It was like watching two films, which worked quite well because we ended when it stopped with them being kids and changed for them being adults, and that was like two separate films. And if it was two separate films, I preferred the first one. Because, some of the stuff in the second, it's a bit much. But I'm glad I've seen it. Let's put it that way.
It's not an easy watch.
No, really not. And then we went to see last night or the night before. There was a preview screening of Fall.
Okay.
Which is two early 20s girls who are into rock climbing, who climb the TV tower in the middle of America. This abandoned tower, and the ladder breaks on the way.
Fall?
And they're stuck at the top of it. And dear me, this is a one to see on the big screen. My palms were sweating. My buttocks were clenched for about a day afterwards. I mean, I'm not. Turns out I am not good with heights, but just seeing somebody else up at heights, oh man, I spent the whole film absolutely on edge. I wouldn't say it's great as a film, but it's really effective at making you feel trapped and really, really, you feel the height of it. And yeah, there's some odd plot points in it, and there's some stuff that doesn't quite work. But to go see on the big screen and to go feel a proper sense of vertigo, it's worth a watch. But believe me, you'll be tense for like 3 hours afterwards. But yeah, so I recommend it.
Yeah, it sounds like a bit like not about like 127 hours or
Yeah, it's a bit like imagine
the other one where they were
127 hours,
stuck underground.
it's really high all the time, and
Yeah.
every time you look down, you feel nervous. Yeah, it was good. It was good fun. It was good fun.
And did Amelia go with you?
She did, yes.
Was
Yeah,
she
she enjoyed
making
it as well. She was just as tense. I think I was more tense. I think I have a bigger problem with heights. But the whole time, I mean, at one point, I was gripping my armrest so hard, I thought I was going to snap it. Yeah, it's you'd enjoy it. It's not, it's not going to rewrite film history in any way, shape, or form, but you'll have a good time feeling like you're going to fall.
Look forward to it.
And that was a
but if you
preview,
do it on a big screen.
And that was a preview, Luke. Yeah, when's it out?
I think it comes out this weekend or the weekend after. Hold on 1 second. Let me just check. Cineworld. Cineworld's got a lot of mentions today. Fall. It comes out on. No, it comes out tomorrow. Friday the 2nd.
Well, the 2nd tomorrow. Yeah.
Yes, it comes out tomorrow.
Just looked at the poster and it looks tense. On
Yes,
the poster.
It's very effective at what it's trying to do. Let's put it that way.
And have you got any more for any more, Luke?
No, that's it. I watched Sully last night. That might come up again in movies that make me feel. But
Okay.
Sully is a great film, I think. Just captures what a miracle that was, that landing. And there's something about seeing people doing their job properly in a world where you feel like nobody's doing their job properly. It's quite reassuring to see. And the bit where he finds out everybody was safe from the plane. Man, it got me again last night. And that's me. That's me done. What about you, Ian?
So me, I've seen. So the last time we talked about Prey, the films I've seen since then, they've all been average, apart from probably one which I'd seen before. So the first thing I watched, on a recommendation of a friend who is a friend of the show, was, and he told me a while ago to watch Eurovision Song Contest, The Story of Fire Saga. He said it's good fun. It'll be better than you think. It's it's a good laugh. It's not going to be what you think it was. It was exactly what I thought it was. It was dreadful. There was a couple of funny moments in it, a couple of good songs, but apart from that, it was just absolutely brutal. But it's just your typical, not typical, like the Will Ferrell humor, which I like some of his films, but I don't really like the obscure humor that he has. I like when he, I like The Other Guys, and I like Talladega Nights, and that is a bit silly, but it's not, this silly. So yeah, I think I watched it over about 5 sittings. It was like bite-sized chunks, just trying to get through it because I was committing. I have to watch it, so I was watching it in the middle of the day, like when it's between that and Loose Women or something. So I watched that. Yeah, it wasn't great. So yeah, but I'm sorry if you really liked it, but then I watched The Grey Man, which I've been waiting for a while to watch just because I thought it sounded good, but I didn't have high hopes because we've talked about this before. The ones that are produced by Netflix and stuff are rarely that good, and that's why Prey was a surprise because it was, straight to streaming and it did well. But The Grey Man, I think it was the biggest budget Netflix film ever, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was the big. I heard that as well. I think until then I heard that there was like a Ryan Reynolds. Is it just the Ryans that are getting the biggest budget Netflix things? I think Ryan Reynolds had a big budget Netflix film before that. I think I can't remember what it was called though. 6 Underground or something.
Yeah, like yeah, 6 Underground 6 or whatever. I know what you mean.
Sorry,
I haven't seen that yet.
I've not seen it either.
But this, I thought the casting was good. It was good. It was a good cast. I think it was a massive budget. You've seen it, haven't you, Luke?
I have. Yeah, it's a very average film for how much it costs.
Yeah. Have you seen it, Chris?
No.
So the best thing about it was the two leads. Really, Gosling was all right. It wasn't Blade Runner quality, but he was all right. But Chris Evans stole the show for me.
Yeah.
He was fantastic because you hated him. You just absolutely hated him, and that means that he's playing the part well. I guess for me, it didn't really know what I wanted to be. There was a bit of Man on Fire in there. There was a bit of James Bond, a bit of Mission Impossible, like the scene from the aeroplane. It made Mission Impossible look believable. It was.
It's one of those things, though, isn't it? Because the action was okay, but when there was no action, I was bored.
Yeah, it was like it was a bit of Man on Fire. It was like Poundland, Man on Fire, Born Identity, James Bond, Mission Impossible, really, and it didn't really know what it wanted to be. So yeah, it wasn't great. It was all right. Then I watched Dog with Channing Tatum. I think it's his directorial debut. I think
you directed it.
Yeah, he directed it with someone else, someone I've not heard of, so I don't give them any credit. So it was, but it was. The story sounds good. I thought it's going to be heartwarming, endearing about this dog that was a US Ranger with him, and he got medically discharged, but it wasn't his dog; it was his partner's dog, and he had to go and deliver the dog to the funeral of its handler, and all this, and it was a big road trip thing. And you think it's going to be good, it's going to be funny, and it was, as you would expect. But obviously, if you're going to drive a dog that's got PTSD effectively, 1,500 miles, and you're going to bond and you're going to calm that dog down, it is spoilers, but it's totally predictable anyway. They've got to fill the journey in with situations that happen, and the situations are just so extreme. It borderlines on farcical, and it's like, I get you trying to lighten the film, but it's just a bit, you just undermine anything else. But there was some good themes raised in it, like about the service that people go to, the effects that war has on people, about how many people commit suicide afterwards, about the effects that it has on animals, and stuff like that. So there was some good themes raised, but it just fell short of, I think, what it was trying to do or anything else. So yeah, it was worth watching on an afternoon. Dog was funny. There's some funny moments in it. But yeah, it was a bit. Is it
CGI dog? I've not seen it.
Oh, it's a real dog.
Because sometimes they CGI everything, don't they? Did you watch Call of the Wild?
Yeah.
So that did you like that?
No, it was all right.
It was all right. It came out at a similar time as Togo, when they used real dogs in Togo, and a CGI dog in Call of the Wild. It made a real difference knowing they were real dogs.
Yeah.
Is it another CGI dog film? I think like a lot of them are.
No, this was a real dog. It was like real trained. It's a bit of a throwback to, K9, but all the way through, you know what's going to happen. It's so predictable. But the bits that didn't work, as I say, were the bits where they filled in what happens on this long journey. So it was okay. I think I only gave it 2.5 stars. And then I watched last night, the night before, The Rainmaker. I think I'd been to a charity shop, bought a couple of John Grisham books. So when I was flicking through, I put that on because it was John Grisham, directed by Francis Ford Coppola. Matt Damon's in it, Danny DeVito, Mickey Rourke, Tommy Lee Jones. So others. So it's a good cast.
Yeah.
And it's one of them stick it to the man law films, except it doesn't take the easy way out, and it talks about the murkiness of law rather than, or stick it to the big corporation. I won't spoil the end in case anyone hasn't seen it, but it's not as straightforward as it could be.
Is it worth a watch?
Worth the watch?
Yeah, I like it. I think for me, one of the best things about it, I don't know what it is, and I can't put a finger on it. I mean, I was trying to put it on for my review, is there's something about films of this age, not all of them, but some films of that, the 80s and 90s, just a film, I don't know whether it was the film they use or the colour palette or what, it just makes it more authentic. And I felt as though I was in there. So when they're on location in somebody's garden, I feel as though I'm there. I don't feel as though I'm viewing it. I feel as though I'm in that very courtroom, the way it's shot, the colours. It's not just I'm observing it, where some films make it feel like I'm observing what's happening. I felt as though I was there. It's tense. There's some good bits. Again, the only thing it was undermined a bit by some comedic moments, mainly surrounding Danny DeVito. But there's not many of them. But then there's two stories running main through it. They could have focused on one a bit more, I think. But yeah, it's a good film. But as I say, it's really talking about the murkiness of the law, the legal system, and how easy it is for lawyers to step over the line and sell out, I think.
What did you watch it on?
What did I watch it on?
I think I've just seen it on Netflix.
It might have been Netflix, yeah.
I might give that a look. It sounds good.
Yeah. So as I said, it's a good cast. It's a decent thing. It's about another one of these things like Aaron Brockovich, where there's this young trainee lawyer, and he gets this case where it's about he's taking on an insurance company that won't pay out. So he takes on that case. And it's about trying to take on that in his first case. He just passes the bar, and yeah, it's good. So that's what we've been watching recently. So yeah, it would be interesting to know what you have been watching, if you've watched any of them, if you have any opinions on any of those things that we've seen. So Nope or Prey or Eurovision or any of the other things we mentioned. If you've seen any of the films that Luke's talked about, or if you're going to see them at the cinema, then let us know. Right, so it's great that we've got Chris with us today. So we've got, when we have guests come on, we ask them a series of questions about the films of their life, just to give us a flavour for the films they watch, what's influenced them. And then after that, we'll talk about our topic this week, which is films that make you feel. So about the power of emotion of films and how different films have affected us emotionally, which one may lead well into the other. So we've got some questions for Chris. Luke will lead off on that, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Chris, what is one of or your very favourite film?
So, right, yeah, so it is the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Oh, no, it's not the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I don't know. It's some of the hardest questions. I know everyone says it's the hardest questions ever. I might actually go for The Matrix. I'm going to go for The Matrix, actually, instead.
That's how hard it is, ladies and gentlemen. He changed while answering. So The Matrix. Tell us why you love The Matrix.
The Matrix, when I watched it when I was a kid, was exciting. It was exciting, it was fun, it was action never seen before, it was the concepts I've never heard of before. And then growing up, it still stands. It's sort of like, and you kind of appreciate it from different angles growing up. But it's amazing. It's a really impressive film that you don't really, I think maybe you probably see too much of now, but it was done so well then. The kind of high concept plus just amazing action. And I think it's just great. It's I've seen it a lot. I think that I watched it recently as I don't know, was that while we were recording that I talked about 4K cinema?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Okay, so so I watched it. I watched the original in 4K in Glasgow, and it was unbelievable. I've never done a 4K either. Maybe I'm just like the first person to get exposed to it, and I'm like thinking it's the best thing ever. Everyone should go see it, but like it was probably better in 4K. Do you guys find 4K distracting, by the way?
Is that the moving seats and the?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
If it's
sorry, 4D.
It's one of those things I find for certain films is great. If it's a film I want to pay attention to, it's not great. But if it's a film I know well, or it's a film where I just want to have a laugh, So we went to see
Yeah.
Jurassic Park like that, a film that I just know backwards and forwards, and that was great. Absolutely brilliant. But then some films where you're kind of trying to pay attention, like we went to see Deepwater Horizon like that, and I couldn't tell you what happened. I was too busy being thrown from side to side.
Yeah. So I've seen one film in 4D. Can't even remember what it was now, but it took me 20 minutes to get into it just because I was like.
Yeah.
But once I did, I kind of, I don't know if it enhanced the experience. It was certainly different. I'm not sure if I went to the cinema. It depends what the film was, and you could buy a 4D ticket or a normal ticket. I'm not sure whether I'd pay for the 4D seat, unless it was something.
It's good for an experience.
Top Gun or something, I might.
Yeah, but a film you know well, like The Matrix, that's different,
Yeah.
I think.
I was going to say, I think it benefited from me having already seen it and just sort of experiencing it again in a new way. But it's brilliant, The Matrix. Can't beat it. It's great. It's emotional. The action's brilliant. The concepts at that time, I suppose, hadn't been done very much. I guess everything now is sort of, well, not everything, but there's been quite a lot of like reality not being real now, isn't there?
I do have to ask you then, because I agree with you on The Matrix. I think it's a brilliant film. I also think it's a fluke. What do you think of the others?
Don't like them. I don't like them, but did you watch the very, very newest one?
Yeah.
That made me like the sequels more. I really hated them. I don't like the sequels, but I hated the new one. I really didn't like it.
Man, I think it's the Wachowskis' only good film.
So I've not seen any of the others. Cloud Atlas, is it? What are the other ones?
Speed Racer, Cloud Atlas.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the newest Matrix for the very reason that it looked dreadful. I didn't think they should make it, and then I never heard anything good about it. The original Matrix or not, or whether it was a fluke or not, it was fantastic. It pushed the boundaries of cinema. I still think it now when something happens, a bit of deja vu. I still wonder whether it's a glitch in the Matrix. I still, there's still reference to say it was a different film. It made coding cool to some degree, technology. we all wanted the flip phone when it came out. It was something else. It does make you think on a deeper level. Are we all just plugged into something? And what is reality? So yeah, I mean, I loved it. Loved it was made. I even like the fellas, Mr. Anderson, all of that. And it's like, is he the one? Is he not? He is the one. And then there's loads of biblical parallels you can draw. So it's great for people preaching sermons as well. So I love it.
At the time, I watched it in year 6. And meet with my friend, and we were like reenacting scenes in the playground. And I ran up a tree, tried to run up a tree, like Trinity, or I think mainly Trinity, and broke my leg. I fell down on it. So, I landed on a funny angle and broke my ankle. But, yeah.
That's because you didn't believe you could do it.
You should see me with a spoon every morning when I'm eating my cereal.
One day it'll move. It'll move one day.
Don't look at the spoon. Anyway, so very good, Chris. Next question is, what's the film that caused you to fall in love with film? So it may be that, or it may be something younger which you watched when you were a kid, that you thought, yeah, I really like films. I want to watch more of them.
So I think my answer is The Sixth Sense.
Okay.
And I think that it's probably not like one of my favorite films, but I think it's the first time I started thinking about the filmmaker and the process of making a film behind it. I think before that, I was engrossed in the film. And I think from that point, I started thinking more about how films were kind of made. And because that had lots of little details that you kind of had to go back and couldn't really appreciate it until you watched it the second time. So I actually think it might have been The Sixth Sense that kind of caused me to appreciate or fall in love with films more on that level.
No, it's a great shout. I think there is something in all, and Luke and I have talked about it before, where watching films for entertainment is one thing, but then something shifts that it isn't just something you do. Because a lot of people watch films, but it's where you go, I like this on a different level now. Because you see the process, as you say, or it makes you feel, which we'll talk about in a bit, or it just stirs something up. Yeah, so I think that's a great answer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was around the same time I was watching Unbreakable and Signs. I love all three.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
So yeah.
What do you
I was
think of
thinking,
his
like,
latest films?
they're not
Did it all
good,
make you
are
hate
they?
films?
Pardon? What was that last question?
Did old make you hate films?
Old was so poor. It was really disappointing. Really disappointing. It's like, does he not know what made the other ones good? Because like the other ones were so subtle,
Mm-hmm.
but like this is just so, these are so on the nose now. Like, is it his decision making that's kind of like putting in all this clunky dialogue and all this kind of, I don't know.
I don't know. Old was so disappointing.
If Jordan Peele made Old, that would have been good. I reckon he could have done it well.
Yes.
But yeah, I don't know. It was poor. I didn't like Old. And in fact, it was hilarious. To be honest, I thought the scene. Have you the scene? I don't mind spoiling Old. To be honest, it's spoiled already. The scene where you know the woman that has like the weak bones.
Oh yeah. I know the scene you mean.
There's a specific scene where there's a reveal. It's really funny, to be honest.
Yeah. I think I was out at that point. I was just like, no, okay, no.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't like it. I mean, I like the ones that you're talking about, like Signs and Unbreakable, and what's the other one? Sixth Sense. So I like them, but yeah, is it a stuff?
The Village is okay. I quite like The Village.
Yeah,
it's okay.
I like the concept of The Village, and I did like it. But beyond that, that was probably one of the ones that I liked the most at the time. The Village. I thought, oh, that's clever. But yeah, but I think some of it is he's been a victim of his own success, because it's like, I know you say, oh, why doesn't he just do what he did? But I think they try and get away from just making the same film again and again, which some directors fall into the trap of, and it's essentially the same film. It's not just the same ingredients. You've made the same film and just changed a few things. So I think there's that trap of it.
I suppose it just feels like he doesn't know how to land dialogue or even land his twists anymore. Like, it feels like he doesn't even know how to do his own twists. I was thinking about, because I quite liked Split. That's probably my most recent of his that I like. I didn't like Glass, though.
No, Glass was dreadful.
I really didn't. And the more I think about it, it's all because I didn't really like how Bruce Willis's character was handled. I think maybe if I could like learn to accept that it's not about him, and that just to kind of not put so much on him, because I was so excited that he was coming back, to see him get treated the way he did in that film, basically no screen time and drowned in a puddle. You can edit out that spoiler if you want. It was just poor, disappointing. Like 18 years or something. When was Unbreakable? Was it 2000?
Oh, I don't know.
Coming back like 20 years later and then to get drowned in a puddle.
I remember I'd only just bought a DVD player, so that was a long time ago.
So The Sixth Sense was a film that caused you to fall in love with films, yeah?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you.
So what was the first film you remember seeing at the cinema?
So the first film I remember seeing, I think I'm too old, because I'm to have seen I'm a bit shocked that this is the first one I can remember, because I was like 12, and I think that's a bit too old. I feel like everyone's age 6 and everyone saw the Star Wars when they answer this question. But
Disney comes up a lot.
Yeah, but the first film I saw at the cinema was How to Train Your Dragon. I think I was about 12. Although we tried to go and see it, and I was kind of feeling a bit wheezy in the cinema. Not in the cinema, in the queue for the cinema at the View in Manchester. And then one of my friends came up behind me and kind of like jumped me, and I threw up all over the floor. And then all these people slipped in it, and then I went home. So that was my first memory of going to the cinema.
Wow.
And you didn't even see anything.
Pardon?
And you didn't get to see anything.
No, I went the next week, I think. And it's great. It's a great film, How to Train Your Dragon. I love it.
That's me and Ian feeling very old now.
Yeah. It was only out like 4 years ago, wasn't it?
When was it out? Because I think I was 12.
I don't know.
23 now.
Let me have a quick look. How to Train a Dragon.
Was it 2010 or 11?
2010.
Okay. But yeah, that was my first one. I should have been earlier. I asked Mum and Dad what they thought the first film I watched at the cinema, and they said Jungle Book 2. And to be fair, I think I do remember having a nightmare about Jungle Book 2. So if you want my first night, experience.
I can't even remember Jungle Book 2. I love the Jungle Book, but I can't remember Jungle Book 2. Okay. What film do you love that you don't think gets enough recognition from other people?
I'm looking at the list I made. I'm going to add Astra. What did you guys think about Astra if you saw it?
Weird film.
Yeah. I thought it was well-made film. I thought it was a bit boring.
I think to have a film where basically Brad Pitt travels... Is it Brad Pitt?
Brad Pitt.
Travels to Mars, and you get to feel like it took as long as it took. You feel every second of that journey.
But I thought it was well made. You know, it is effectively just on a journey, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like he says a lot when he doesn't say a lot.
Yeah.
I think that's what's great about Pitt. He's good at kind of not. Well, I don't know what you guys thought. Maybe I was seeing emotions into him that weren't there, and I was like getting too much from it. But I always admired like how he was saying a lot without saying a lot, and I think he's good at that. But yeah, go on.
But I think that's a thing about films, isn't it? It's subjective often that we'll get different things from it. And it's good. I think, I mean, sometimes it depends on what mood you're in, what's happening in your life as well. If I watched it today, I might feel differently because it's one of them films that is long, but like we were talking about before, even like with Breaking Bad, there's an episode of Breaking Bad and some with Better Call Saul, but there's one episode of Breaking Bad, but it's just really about a fly that's in the workplace. And it's great. I love it. But it's like just about them trying to get this fly. Not a lot happens, but yeah, I was engaged for an hour following the journey of this fly. It's like, so yeah, I might better. But yeah, I can see how you think it doesn't get enough recognition because I think it is a superbly made film.
Very well crafted, very much so. And yeah.
It's quite meditative, isn't it? It's quite like, there is a lot of silence. I watched it with Becca at the cinema and she was like, I'm never going to the cinema with you again. And I've seen it a few times since. I think it is really good, but I don't know how well it did. I don't hear anyone talking about it, so I think that's my...
No, I think that's fair enough. I don't hear anyone talk about it, but if you did go to space, it probably would be like that film.
Yeah.
Rather than Aliens.
And hey, how many films have pirates on the moon?
Oh yeah, that was a good scene. That was a really good scene, wasn't it? Do you remember it? Yeah.
It was.
It was so good. I think, and that was heightened by how I think the scenes that are quite action-packed, they're kind of heightened by how slow it is as well.
Yeah, true.
Mm.
And
I do give it another watch now.
Pardon?
So I might have to give it another watch now.
Definitely give it another watch. Definitely. It's quite bold. It's in the same way Nope was bold. It's sort of like, it's this new big space film with Brad Pitt, and then you go and watch it, and it's quite a slow, meditative film. It's like
it's basically watching someone's commute.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, there's that one, isn't there, the one with Tom Hardy where it's just about him driving home?
Yeah, Lock. That's a good film. Really good film. It's all set in the car, but it plays the tension of this, what he's going through and the story around him so well. Really good film. Even though
that's just about his commute, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all just him on a journey, but the story that it builds in it, it's really good. If you haven't seen it, see Locke. It's really good.
Okay, so Ad Astra. I'm going to add that Ad Astra to my list. Isn't
Yeah.
Do
And
it.
which
Do it.
film do you think seems like everybody likes this, but I don't get it? Where you just don't get the hype around it. And
Yeah.
everybody say you speak to people and they talk about how much they enjoy it, and I just don't see it.
Can I play my film adjacent card, or do you want me to pick another answer?
Well, we'll go with it, and then we'll tell you whether we need you to pick another answer.
I watched 6 episodes of The Mandalorian and thought it was really boring.
Yeah. No, I'm with you, Chris. Absolutely. I struggled to start season 2 because season 1 was that boring.
And I think 6 episodes was me giving it a chance. I do think it was me giving it. I gave it a good chance. It's like 6 hours, isn't it? So I think I can't even remember the episodes I saw, and I just feel like everyone's really. Have you seen it, Luke?
Yeah, I
like
enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, but I can see where you're coming from.
Yeah, and I guess it. Not only did I find it boring, I guess I'm finding this with most of the new Star Wars TV shows. It kind of felt childish, and I think it was pitched to me like it was going to be quite gritty, but I think it felt, in a way, kind of childish. I felt like Obi-Wan Kenobi was a bit childish, but I'm not really talking about Obi-Wan.
I never thought I'd
There's
ever
this-
say this in my life, but there's too much Star Wars about.
There's a lot of Star Wars.
That's Disney, isn't it? Trying to maximise it, and
Yeah.
you've got a fan base there. I preferred Obi-Wan Kenobi to Mandalorian. I haven't even started with Boba Fett yet because I'm still chewing my way through the Mandalorian.
If you think the Mandalorian's slow.
But the Mandalorian for me is effectively right. He's got to get this baby Yoda. I don't know what his name is really, but he's got to get it back to where it's protect it. It's just all right. Here's a new episode with a different threat. Here's a new episode with a different. Just get it where you've got it. But all you can hyperspace. Do you know what I mean? Just so anyway. But the thing I liked about Obi-Wan, and I'm going off on a tangent slightly, is that it's familiar. So you've got Darth Vader. You've got, that it's not entirely. So it's a bit of nostalgia there. Yeah, but. Can you think? So that I agree with you. Can you think of any films though, just for the sake of?
Yeah. I rewatched The Breakfast Club with Becca, and neither of us liked it very much. So maybe is the hype still good, or I can let that seep into my controversial opinion. I'm trying to read your faces. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think it's a bit different for me. I don't know what Luke thinks because The Breakfast Club it's been there my whole life, you know what I mean? So it was when I first came. So I was youngster, but when I watched it, I loved it as a kid, but I had no clue what it was about. Whereas now I do know what it's about, and I know the statement it's making, but I do find it a bit. Last time I watched it, I didn't enjoy it as much because I just find them all a bit unlikable. But I think they're meant to be to a degree.
Yeah.
But it's talking about the different factions, but everyone was a bit of an extreme. So I don't hate it. I understand. I would understand what you're saying, and if I hadn't grown up with it and didn't have that nostalgia investment, I'm not sure I would like it or rate it as highly as I do. I know what you think, Luke.
Well, yeah, I didn't see it when I was younger. It was one of those films I just missed. So I watched it fairly recently and was just ambivalent towards it. Really, it was kind of like I don't see what all the fuss is about. So yeah, I get where you're coming from. It was all right.
It was all right, and I think it was kind of like slightly all over the place. Like I think it was. I think what it wanted to be was quite, a really boiled down, simple idea of like kids talking. But then there's sort of like sprinkled throughout really kind of random bits where they're kind of like dancing on tables and things. And I guess it is fun, but it's random. It doesn't make any sense. There's a bit where they get high and that sports guy kind of runs around and then screams so loud that he breaks like a glass door. And it's like, what? This is the most random thing of it. I thought it was supposed to be gritty, like gritty kind of realism, conversation-based film. I don't know.
Yeah, even though I like the film, I think some of it's a nostalgia investment. I do understand what you're saying. I do think it probably is overhyped. I don't think it's as good, but I think it's a cult classic.
Yeah.
The scene at the end's iconic. I think the soundtrack makes it, particularly Don't You Forget About Me. So,
Yeah.
Okay, and what would be your controversial film opinion, or was that it?
Was it controversial?
Not to me.
I think it's. I don't think overly. If you've got a more controversial one, then let's have it.
Yeah. I think I love the idea of like listening to this a week later and like the whole controversy. It's like, oh, they asked me a load of questions about controversial opinions and they cut it all. I don't know what I'm supposed to think about.
Well, the most controversial or things that Luke and I have had that got interaction is Luke hating The Greatest Showman, right? And
Okay.
mine was saying that I didn't like West Side Story. I would have preferred West Side Story without the songs.
That was controversial. I remember that. I remember thinking that.
I was getting pelters from everywhere. It's a musical. It's meant to have songs in it. I was like, yeah, but it'd be better. I mean, if you could take Gladiator and stick songs in the middle of it, it's a musical, but it's not going to make the film better.
I don't know, though. I'd like to see Gladiator with songs.
Have you seen the?
Are you not entertained?
Have you seen there's a musical? It's a joke. It's a parody, but it's like a musical song for the Predator. It's like Predator the musical.
No.
It's very funny. I don't know if I should send you guys the link. It's really fun. Just type in Predator the musical. It comes up straight away. It's really funny. Yeah, we won't go into the West Side Story thing. I do disagree, and that is controversial. Is it? Is I think any Star Wars opinion is controversial. I was going to say Rocky 4 isn't as good as I remember. Is that controversial? If it's not, I'll say
No, I don't think it is. And I'm, Rocky is my favorite film of all time. I love the Rocky franchise. I used to hate Rocky 5, but like Rocky 5 now. Rocky 4, the director's cut was a mess. Rocky 4, it changed what Rocky was about. It's not sold out. That's not fair, but it went to appease the masses, and it was a film. It became a sports film for the masses, the underdog, and there's a lot of emotion stuff in it, and it is good for what it is. But yeah, it's it's like proper cheesy.
Have you seen? There's a funny like sketch on YouTube. I can't remember who made it, but it's basically like a mockumentary, as if Rocky 4 was like a historical event that kind of stopped the Cold War. It's really funny.
If you could change, and I could change, we all could change. So, I mean, we could probably do with Rocky now in the middle of, of what's going on.
He'd sort it all out.
So, very good. Well, that's the films of Chris's life. So get in touch if you agree with them, if you echo what he said, if you want to tell us the films of your life, if you want to come on and be a guest and answer the same questions, that would be great. Well, thank you very much for that, Chris. And we're just going to finish this week's episode by having a little chat about a topic that I put to the guys yesterday. Was about, I remember, and then we touched on it a bit with Chris with The Sixth Sense, that I always liked films for entertainment, but there was something significant when I remember films making me feel something, when I think about them for days afterwards, because there was something in my gut that I couldn't get out of, or some kind of emotion, whether any emotion, that it affected me beyond the runtime. It affected me, emotionally, and not just, I'd like to see that again. And that brought me to the topic of films that make you feel. And I can recognize the different points in my life where that has happened, and it's gone from just entertainment, because some films you do just watch because it sounds entertainment, bit of escapism. But some films, I think one of the beauties of film is it does make you feel something. And the films that make me feel are my favorites. They're the ones that really, resonate with me for longer. So we're just going to have a chat about that, chat about some of the films that make us feel. And I think I'll just start by saying, I remember the first thing that ever happened that I remember this for me was Watership Down. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen Watership Down, about rabbits, an animated film about rabbits. And I watched it as a kid, and it was on, and I thought, this is really, about a cartoon as kids. And it's not. It's one of the most brutal things I've ever seen in my life.
It is.
And do you know what I mean? It just made me feel sadness for days. and partly that was because I was expecting, you know, fluffy animal stories and all this myxomatosis and all this horrible thing. And there was a crow that swore, which was a bit funny, but it made me feel stuff. I say sadness, it caused me to feel sad, empathy, and all these things, even as a young kid, that I remember had a huge impact on me. So, yeah, that was the first one I remember going, oh, I feel moved by this film.
Yeah.
And as a child, I remember being aware of that.
Yeah, that whole sequence where the rabbit's, you think he's dying, and it has that when it plays Bright Eyes, and oh man, dear me, that reduced me to bits as a kid. But
Yeah.
even though some of the stuff, like, you know, when he has that vision of the Warren being destroyed and all of the horror, and I remember that just disturbed the life out of me.
Kids shouldn't be allowed to watch it.
No, it's pretty horrific at times.
So that was one of my earliest memories, and then it was Jaws, and still now it's affected me more than any other film in my life. It's affected my life. I won't go swimming in the sea because of Jaws, which I watched 35 years ago. Terrified me, and it made me feel fear. Do you know what I mean? I was, you know, all these other films people talk about Nightmare on Elm Street and all. I didn't care. But Jaws absolutely terrified me, made me scared of the sea, and even to this day, even though I'm a bit more practical about it now and go, it's the North Sea. There's not going to be many great whites in here. There's more chance of being dying from sewage. But so they're the two ones that I remember as a child. I don't know if you guys remember anything as a child that made you feel.
I just on Jaws, by the way, there's a 3D version of Jaws coming out. First time ever that has been converted to 3D. Coming out at the cinema in the next few weeks. I think they're doing it for like 1 or 2 nights only. But if you want to revisit that trauma, that would be a way to do it.
But you can watch it at some places, like in America. They've got them drive-ins where you can watch it in the water in a rubber ring. No.
That sounds brilliant.
With your feet dangling in the water. I'm not doing that.
That's such a great idea. That's brilliant. You remember watching that, wouldn't you? It'd be a great experience watching a film like that.
What about you, Chris? What films would you say have reduced you to a quivering wreck?
Or a raging lunatic.
So, how many emotions have we done? Are those?
Well, I did sadness and I've done fear.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's just sadness and fear.
You what's that, Luke?
That was just his sadness and fear. You can go through all the emotions you want.
I'll do a sad one. You asked me about Quivering Wreck. Have you seen The Mighty?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the first time I thought.
Is that the gorilla one? Or is that Mighty Joe?
That's Mighty Joe Young.
All right. What's The Mighty, Chris?
The Mighty has one of the McCullen brothers in it. Hold on. Find out which one. Oh, not McCullen. Culkin. it's got Kieran Culkin in it. And it's got Sharon Stone in it, but she's not a main character. It's Kieran Culkin. And did you watch Daredevil?
Yeah.
You know his lawyer friend?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was in it. They're both kids though, and they both he has like a mental disability, and he has the one from Daredevil has a physical disability. Oh no, sorry, the other way around. Kieran Culkin has a physical disability, and the one from Daredevil has a mental disability. And it's kind of like how they kind of like not team up, but they kind of become friends and start to kind of rely on each other. And it's a really, really nice film with a very sad ending. And I know I'm spoiling it by saying it's got a sad ending, but that's why it's sad, so I have to say it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was probably the first film I watched that kind of really reduced me to a deep sadness after watching it.
Deep sadness.
Deep sadness.
For me, that would be A Monster Calls.
Oh,
I think it's because it was a surprise. I didn't know what the film was about, and it was like being physically punched in the stomach. It was just horrible.
yeah.
Like Schindler's List is probably the film that's moved me the most emotionally, but I knew that it would. With A Monster Calls, I wasn't ready for what came. It was just like, oh my word, that is dark.
Very effective, very effective. One that struck out for me, a film that I can't watch without getting very upset, is Room.
Yeah.
That I remember going to see that at the cinema, and I had to wait for the credits to finish before I walked out because I didn't want anyone to see my face.
Man. I enjoyed it as a film. Well, it's one of the things. Did you enjoy it? I appreciated it as a film.
Yes, I don't know if I enjoyed it. I felt like I'd been through the ringer. It felt like the film had been punching me in the gut.
Yeah. The same with Requiem for a Dream. I didn't enjoy it, but it was a very, very powerful film. Have you seen it?
I've not seen that.
It's not a film. It's one of them films that we watch, and I would probably never want to watch again. It's brutal. I can't really say much about it without spoiling it. It's best to go in cold, I think, on it.
Boy in the Striped Pajamas is another very sad one that left me in. Boy in the Striped Pajamas.
Oh, brutal! Absolutely. Oh, even though you're expecting it, you're not ready for it. You can't. It's just.
I think as well. Like when I watched, when did that come out? Was that 2009 or?
Oh, that's a long time ago. I don't remember.
So I think when I watched it, I was about the age of the boys in it, and I think it surprised me. I'm thinking back. I was like, I think I didn't even quite realize who the boy in the striped pajamas was or where he was, and it's kind of. Yeah, that was quite a shocking film. I remember we rented it from Blockbusters, that one, and I remember I don't know what that. I nearly did something to the disc. Oh no, I'm getting mixed up. So Monsters Inc. Scared me so much that I took the disc out and went and scratched it. Do you know the scene where the suction thing? Yeah. It's kind of like it's like a POV shot, like a suction thing coming in. I took it out and like broke the DVD. Anyway, that was a week ago. I've recovered since then. But yeah, Boy in the Striped Pajamas is very, very harrowing.
Can you think of any films that got you in that emotional state in the first few minutes? I'm thinking like Up. You know where?
Yeah, Up. The first 15 minutes of Up was some of the saddest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah. And I was not prepared for that. I remember going to see it. You know, it's going to be about a guy with balloons on his house. This is going to be fun. And then you suddenly get that beginning. I was not ready for that.
I don't think I've seen beyond that 15 minutes. I don't think I've made it beyond the first 15 minutes. I think I've tried about 8 times and I can't get beyond it. I'm like, no, I'm done. I'm emotionally spent after 15 minutes.
It's quite something.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if there's any that are that hard hitting that quickly.
I'll tell you another one that did that for me was Searching.
Yeah.
It's kind of similar to, now you mention it, that opening's quite similar to Up, isn't it?
Yeah.
Quickly it gets you to invest.
It does. You very quickly, you're just sort of like immediately hooked into these characters and crying for them. And I don't know whether the rest of this film lives up to the start of it, but it's an interesting film. But the beginning of that had me like that. Yeah.
It's a good rest. I think it's still good, the rest of the film.
Yeah, I think it's a good film. I think it's more interesting than good. Actually, no, thinking about it, the end of Searching got me as well. Yeah.
Well, it's really, really good. It's surprisingly good because I went in thinking it was gimmicky and came out thinking that was the best way they could have done that type of story.
Yeah. Another one that occurs to me is I just need to do a very brief shout out for The Time Traveler's Wife, which caught me when I was jet lagged once. Dear me.
Luke, you cry at almost every film. Luke cries at a lot of films, but yeah, I mean, I feel them, but don't always. Maybe it says more about it. It's not a counselling session, but don't always express my feelings. But The Time Traveler's Wife, it did hit hard.
Yeah. There's another one that it's not sadness. It is sadness, but it's also that you know a film where you come away and you don't know how you feel. You're like, I'm sad, I'm angry, I'm disturbed, Prisoners is that for me. That's one of those films that I can win. I don't know how I feel at the end of it. Drained.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Prisoners is that. It is complex and a bit nuanced. And I think for me, the one I identify in my life that done that was Sleepers, because it was about these boys and you get the friendship and you're invested in them. Then something tragic happens and you go, right, that's one thing. How do you deal with that tragedy? Then they go and get punished. And then there's abuse that goes on. And then, so then it leaves me questioning, going, they bend the rules, break the law, and to get revenge. But I'm not disappointed with it. And I'm going, morally, particularly with the beliefs that I have, how do I square that circle? And then there's a priest in it, De Niro, that lies and betrays his own thing for the bigger picture to help these boys that are victims, but are they victims? So there's all these things that are going on. So there was so many questions that raised me. I was pleased when they got revenge, didn't care. And then now I'm going, what would I do in the same situation? So there's all that stuff. There's so many things, but I remember being devastated and then hating the guys in the prison for what they did. Kevin Bacon plays it really well, but I remember hating him. And then when they get the revenge, I'm like, yes. But then I'm thinking, it just murdered people, and I'm happy about it. But the film caused me to do that because I was so invested. So that is one. I'd read the book before, so I was ready. But it's always been not special, but a significant film for me, that it changed the way that I saw film. I think that it was an emotional journey rather than simply a thing of entertainment. It caused me to feel so many things.
Yeah.
And then there's the films like, and it sounds a bit tokenistic, and it's not, but, and I know they're designed to, like American History X or 12 Years a Slave and Hidden Figures, that show me a perspective of racism that I didn't know exists, and I hear about it, but I don't think I can ever fully understand. But when it's on the screen in front of you, played out, you get it a bit more. So I think American History X was particularly hard-hitting and violent, and then 12 Years a Slave, it was just, well, we talk about slavery and you understand it, but it was sort of quite removed from it, and it shows how awful it was. And then Hidden Figures, these people are doing a good job, really helping, and they're treated so, and then it makes me feel angry that could have happened. Do you know what I mean? And then it makes me feel a bit of shame because of it was white people that did it, and I'm white. Do you know what I mean? So there was all them complexities in those things and making it feel anger. I think Fruitvale Station and a couple of us, Green Book maybe to a degree, made me feel that as well.
I think that's the power of film. It can explore these issues and these important things that you can't really explore and understand in any other way. It explains things in ways that and causes you to feel emotional about them. I think that's a good thing. We've done sad, but if we switch to films that have made you angry, I think there's a lot that's a valuable thing sometimes, films that make you angry. I mean, I remember The Big Short. I came out with The Big Short absolutely furious at the entire banking system.
Yeah. Spotlight as well, when it was all the way, it's the Catholic Church, but it's not. It's do you know what I mean? It's church institution, and mankind has abused and used their power to really hurt people, and you feel anger about that, particularly when it's a true story. But the power of film to make us feel happiness. There's plenty of films that make us feel joy, and then all of these things. I just love it. And I say there is some films that are just purely entertainment and you get invested to a degree, but there's ones that genuinely move you and have an impact on you for the rest of your life, I think.
Yeah, and I think it's a healthy thing to watch films that make you feel angry, because it helps you really want to stand up for and not put up with. I remember Dark Waters. Dark Waters was one of those films that made me furious. Because you get to the end that
Mark Ruffalo Hathaway.
That's the one, yeah. Well, you just get to the end, you think, I can't believe people have let this happen. Can't believe it. Yeah, they do, and they get away with it. And you don't hear about it until somebody puts it in a film.
Yeah. Even The Founder, it was a great film. The injustice of what he did to them brothers, for McDonald's, and turned it into this thing. It's like, Injustice, it really winds me up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have you seen I, Daniel Blake?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't even. But again, I think that's a film, and I like that. It's what's he called? The director.
Is it Ken Loach?
Is it Ken Loach? Danny Boyle? Ken Loach? Yeah, Ken Loach.
Ken Loach.
But he
Yeah.
uses his films to make them points, doesn't he? And speak.
Yeah.
And I think he does that particularly well. So as I, Daniel Blake, yeah, it was, especially growing up in the Northeast, it was one of them things that really struck home. It was like,
But I think that's one of those things is films like that are important. And you know, it matters that people make films like that. They might not always make all the money, but it highlights things that wouldn't otherwise get highlighted. And I think that's films that make you angry, I think, matter.
yeah. But on the flip side, there's films that make me feel good, like not good, but like Hacksaw Ridge. I like that. It makes me feel hopeful. Do you know what I mean? When he's just saying, and he's pulling the people up, and there's one more Lord, and he sticks to his principles, and he's justified in that. Wonder was another one. I really enjoyed Wonder. There's horrible injustice in it, but it's about the spirit, the triumph of the human spirit, and overcoming and the potential for people to do good. The Intouchables, is it Intouchables, the French version, and they made the other one, sort of stuff like that. I just, films that make you feel good and happy about life are good as well. But yeah, I love the power of film to make us feel.
Yeah,
it's a good question. The question of feelings, because I think it's almost an aspect of watching a film you can go unappreciated, because it's so easy. It's like easily taken for granted that a film has made you feel a certain way on purpose, because it's so easy for them to try and get you to feel a certain way and like not feel that way, like that scene in Old with the bones breaking and healing really quick and everything. It's like a scene that's supposed to be scary, it's just not come across scary at all. I was thinking about Everything Everywhere All at Once. That was the first thing that came to my head when I read the question, because there's so many feelings in that film. The film kind of tackles kind of everything happening all at once and all these universes and all these situations. And the film sort of can make you feel like you can be laughing 1 second, then kind of crying the next, then disgusted, and then like really engaged in the drama. And it really balances a lot of feelings all at once. Like I was really impressed with that, how the film did that. How, especially in the climax, the emotional climax of the film had a lot of strange imagery in it. And and it's like there were things that were started off as jokes at the start of the film that ended having quite like an emotionally beautiful moment at the end. I think the sausage fingers comes to mind with that. It was a joke at the start of the film, and by the end of the film, it's like actually quite a beautiful point that the film's trying to make about something. So yeah, I think films that can kind of not only make you feel a thing and feel it hard, but to kind of balance feeling different things at one time is like that's quite a powerful thing.
Yeah, I think it is a powerful thing. I think the best one for me that done that was A Man Called Ove. So I read the book and it did it, and I was laughing one moment, and then I had a lump in my throat and tears in my eyes the next moment, and then I was back to laughing, snotty-faced laughs again. And but all the way through, it was just such a depth of feeling and laughter. But the transition between the two, because a lot of films are just one film, but if you can transition between different things, I think that's a real gift from film. And talking about feelings, I think Inside Out, I thought that was a good film at looking at feelings as well. So yeah, it's an interesting topic. We've gone for hours and hours about, and we've gone on quite a bit already. But I think, and maybe it's a bit cliche for me to say that, but same with the Passion of the Christ. I think in the job I do and the belief I have, reading about these things for years and years is fine. But when you see it dramatized on the screen, it brings a whole different reality to it, particularly like the whipping scenes or the indulgence or the, you know what I mean? I think Mel Gibson does it particularly well and did that particularly well. He is an emotive director, I think. We see it with Braveheart, I think he plays on the emotions there, and The Patriot, and usually anti-English, but he does drive into emotions as well.
Yeah. What about films that just make you feel happy watching them?
The first one that came up for me was Brian and Charles. Have you seen Brian and Charles?
No, I haven't.
It came out this year, and the main actor in it is an actor. I can't remember his name. He's in Afterlife. He's a character in Afterlife. Let me see if I can remember his name. He's called David Earl, and I'm not seeing him anything else other than Afterlife.
All right.
But Brian and Charles is very light-hearted.
Is it about a guy who builds a robot?
Makes a robot, yeah, that's it.
Oh, right. I think I've seen that something on that, yeah.
And the robot's aging quite quickly and kind of going through different stages of life quite quickly, and it's kind of like about friendship, but also like the parental relationship between like a parent and a child. It's really, I came away smiling. Me and Becca went to watch him. Like, that was the happiest film I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I'll have to try that.
It's brilliant. Definitely watch it. Yeah.
I like a film that just makes you feel, just while you're watching, you just come away. Chef's one of those ones for me. I just come away happy after watching, and hungry. But
that's a good one, because I couldn't think of many.
Well, I've got 3, but 2 of them going back actually make me feel other things as well. So the first one come to my mind was La La Land. I smiled all the way through that film, but it's quite a sad ending. Do you know what I mean? It's quite a sliding doors ending. And then Stand By Me. It's just a film that fills me with joy to watch, but the ending's sad, especially the commentary where he goes, my best friends I had with the one when I was 14, he says, and then it talks about what happened to them, and he never really saw them again after that. And it's like, yeah, we drift away from people. But one of the films that I just love and smile all the way through from beginning to end is Hunt for the Wilder People.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Yeah,
I absolutely love it, and we've got to watch it for Film Club, and I just love it, and I can't wait to watch it again. It's just the character, the writing, it's humorous, the sense of adventure, the naughtiness. It's just brilliant.
That's a really good one. Yeah, that's great.
That is a really good film. Some more films that just do that for me. I mean, obviously, Game Night does that for me. I love watching that. Little Shop of Horrors, just a smile on my face the entire time watching that. The Commitments, weirdly, I love watching The Commitments. Always makes me smile. And Searching for Sugar Man. The lift I feel at the end every time I watch that, I feel like anything's possible.
Yeah, and cheesy sports films I like. Not always like. There's usually a downside first, but the Gridiron Gang, I remember, did it for me. Coach Carter. Friday Night Lights. I love an underdog story.
Yeah, like Dodgeball. That's a true underdog story.
Yeah. Back to the Future always.
A
smiley film.
Yeah, always.
First Bueller's Day Off is a good, just pure kind of joy, happiness film, isn't it? I suppose it's just sort of it's really playful film, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sort of. Yeah.
Well, that's great. Really enjoyed that chat, and it's got me thinking. I'm sure there'll be loads more afterwards. But if you've been listening or watching, let us know what films made you feel and what emotions they made you feel, and the ones that you remember for the first time that maybe changed it for you, that you were really seeing or feeling films as a powerful, emotive driver. So that'd be great. And yeah, get in touch with anything that you've heard us chat about, any comments that you've got. If you want to come on and guest with us, I think, I don't know what you think, Lou, but I always prefer it when there's someone else on. So
yeah, me too. Not that I don't enjoy talking to you.
yeah, but that's it. We enjoy chatting to each other, but it's great to have another voice in that conversation, or another 2 voices or something. So
it's great when it's someone like Chris who I've never met before, because I love talking to people about films for the first time as well. It's exciting.
Well, I will invite you to come on again, Chris, if you ever want to come on again, but Luke probably won't, because obviously he's met you now. So
yeah, I'm done now.
But I want to thank you for coming on, Chris. And yeah, anytime you want to come on in the future, just let us know. And we'll get you back on and chat, because the time's gone so quickly, but it's gone so long as well. So
Yeah, it is. It is going to be a bit of an epic one. This one. That's not a bad thing. That's good.
no, we've covered a lot. We've said a lot, and it's felt great. So yeah, but please, if you're listening to this or watching it anyway, get in touch with us. If you want more of Chris, then let us know. We'll see if we can book him regularly. And yeah, maybe we'll get your sister Beck on one time to talk about some of her films as well. That'd be good. Very good stuff. What did you say, Chris?
Felipe maybe as well.
Yeah, Felipe. We'll get him live from Brazil. Yeah, that'd be good, actually, get Felipe on. Very good. So, well, thanks very much, Chris. And I say, if you're listening or watching, get in touch with us on Twitter, on Facebook. We'd love to hear from you, your opinions, because we love just talking about films and sometimes TV shows. So, thanks very much, gents.
Yeah, and we'll see you again next time.